What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Deep Ruts Podcast. Episode number 4 here. If this is your first time joining, Deep Ruts is all about the members of Dayton, Ohio Toyota Off-Road Enthusiasts. And today, the member we have with us is Mark Black.
How you doing?
So today we're going to learn a little bit about Mark, figure out, how he got into the group and, a little bit about his history in life and, what he does now. So one of the things that we do on the podcast is we have a drink of bourbon while we do this. So the members get to select something from my collection, and Mark today has chosen Blanton's. So, Mark, why'd you choose Blanton's?
It's one that's been on my list to try for a long time now, and haven't had a chance to pick up a bottle yet.
Sure.
So this will be a good good test run.
I will say I've had Blanton's. This is the first time I actually just opened this particular one, but everybody so far has chosen Buffalo Trace products. So, let's go ahead and give it a taste here.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Smells real good.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah.
Caramel.
Definitely tastes different than the Eagle Rare and E.H. Taylor.
Yeah.
But even though they're kind of the same thing in a way.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So, starting out here, again, we want to kind of get everybody introduced a little more into the members and the people that are around on these trail rides and out at the events. So, Mark is one of our admins. This first series, everything has, interviewed me. Then we interviewed all of the admins. And then from there, we'll move to like our trail team, some of the OG members, and then kind of work into all the other members of the group that are interested. So if you are one of those other members that are interested, message below, contact me, let me know, and I'll get you put on the waiting list for that. So let's start right out and kind of get into your truck here, Mark. So what are we sitting in front of here?
It's a 2017 Tacoma TRD Sport, heavily modified.
Yeah, and we just did the walk around for the rig, so you can check out that video. Talks about all those modifications. That's something that we're doing prior to the start of each one of these. But how'd you end up with this truck, Mark? What was the process like for that?
Man, it happened kind of quick. Years back in 2015, 2016, I bought a brand new Chevy Suburban or Chevy Silverado, my first new vehicle ever, and loved it, and drove it for 4 or 5 years. And when our girls started getting older, we made the decision to put them in private school. And my oldest daughter was already in private school, and we were trying to figure out a way to get our second daughter in, just 2 kids, more expense. And so I basically thought of it was kind of during that pre-COVID era when we're actually right around COVID, when truck values were really, really up. And I just so happened I was in the truck, right? I only owed $12,000 on the truck, on my Silverado. And I was able to sell it for $27,000. And so I was able to take that.
A little bit of a profit.
A little bit of a profit. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I financed like 38 on the truck and then drove it for 5 years and basically lost $11,000. So it cost me $11,000 to drive a brand new truck for 5 years. Took that money from the sale of the truck and put it down on this guy, and got my truck payment down to under $300 a month. So that really helped and aided in getting our second daughter in private school.
Okay, cool.
And I've always wanted a Tacoma, and it just so happened that this one was in the right spot. I actually went to the lot looking at a completely different truck because I was going to just pay cash for something. And then I saw this baby sitting there, and it was a 6-speed manual, which I really wanted. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
But
so I've seen a big transformation in this truck since you got it. Yeah. I remember seeing you the first few times probably, and this thing was pretty stock. So what how did you like make the decision to start, making those modifications? What led to that? Have you been in like the car community a long time, or is this something that is kind of new to you? What is that all?
It's all pretty new to me. Obviously growing up, I had vehicles and never really got too far into the modifications. And it wasn't until I went to the first. I just so happened I joined Dotore to basically learn more about my truck and kind of get into that community. And then I went to a meet and greet that you guys held, and met some people and saw what was possible with these trucks. And I was like, all right, yeah, this is for me. It's time to spend some money. But,
yeah, well, we are happy you spent that money.
Yeah.
It's fun to be out there on the trails with you. So you talked a little bit about, having got the truck, making that transition, finding Dotore. How did you find Dotore? When did you join the group? So that would have been 2020-ish, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. So how did you find out about the group?
Honestly, I think one of the members, I can't remember who, had put a card on my door. I was parked somewhere. Again, my memory, I can't remember where I was parked, but I came out and I had a card in my door. And I looked you guys up on Facebook and joined. And then I decided it was, I saw one of the event advertisements for a meet and greet over at across from Delco Park there in Kettering. And just decided one night I was going to go out and try to make some friends and meet some like-minded people.
And now you've got a Toyota family. Look
Right.
at that. So,
yeah.
It's been great to have Mark along. He's very knowledgeable. He's done a lot of trail riding with us down in the gorge. So, definitely has been a solid add to our administrative team. As we kind of move forward and, more people join the group, there are more things that we have to watch out for. And I'm very fortunate to have a great administrative team. So, again, moving forward from this episode, we'll talk about the trail team, which is kind of a loose term that we've put together for the people that are very dedicated, being out there on the trails with us, not only leading rides, but also being there to help in case anything does go astray on one of those rides. So, we obviously want to be as safe as we're doing all of this. And, that's a very important part of, I think, what makes us different than a lot of the other off-road groups. Some of the people, go out and drink and get a little wild in the side-by-sides or, whatever kind of vehicle it is. And while we are having a drink right now, we don't do that while we're on the trails. That's pretty important to us. But I think, our impact that we've left on the community is thanks to a lot of our members. And that's why, again, I wanted to do this podcast and share the stories of the people that do make our community. So, Mark, let's talk a little bit about your life. Let's get away from the Toyotas for a second. What was your childhood like growing up? What are some of the key memories you have of your childhood? Some of your favorite things you remember about it. Where are you from? Let's start by, are you from this area?
Yeah. I was born and raised in Xenia, and we lived in the Platte Arrowhead over in Xenia. It's called Arrowhead. It was just a loose term. But all the neighborhood, all the streets over there are named after states.
Yeah.
And we moved around a lot. We rented, and we would move around. I think I counted up one time. By the time I was 12, when we moved to Beaver Creek, we had moved 10 times. So I like to say I went all over the country and lived in many different states, but never left Xenia.
Yeah.
But yeah, we moved around a lot, switched a lot of schools, kind of a lot of general upheaval. It seemed about the time I'd get settled in and making some friends, and my dad would be like, "Oh, I don't like this house anymore. It's time to move."
New elementary school.
New elementary school, and yeah. I went to, I think of the 3 or 4 elementary schools in Xenia, I went to, I think 3 of them. So, but yeah, just a lot of moving around, but I mean, good experiences. But.
Yeah, I'm like that a lot in a similar way, but I grew up like in Huber Heights, and I went to we moved to Centerville halfway through my 4th grade year.
Okay.
And I think I went to almost every elementary school in Huber prior to that. So, we moved around a lot too. And then from Centerville, I moved to Kettering, and that's where I finished school, 8th grade and up. So definitely bounced around and have that certainly in common with you. So.
Yeah, so by the time I was 12, my parents finally bought a house in Beaver Creek. We lived on North Fairfield Road. And I mean we had like 6 feet of front yard, a deck, and then North Fairfield. So it was an experience growing up with a traffic light close by, and you know, cars, traffic, and noise, and semi trucks and hitting the engine brake to stop at the stoplight.
Yeah.
And but we lived there. I finished out my education in my high school, junior high and high school education in Beaver Creek. Graduated from Beaver Creek and Greene County Career Center, where I took precision machining.
Okay.
That's what kind of led me into my career.
Sure.
Today. But yeah, so lived there all the way through high school. Then I met my wife when I was 14. So we were junior high school sweethearts.
Yeah. Okay.
So been together, you know, we just celebrated our 23rd wedding anniversary, but we've been together for 30 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. But yeah.
And then we'll talk a little bit about the kids and stuff too.
Yeah.
I know you got a couple kids, and you know, leading into being a machinist, was that your first job then? Was being a machinist somewhere?
Well, my first job, my dad worked for Lafino's Nursery, and he worked there for 20 years. He was a night stock manager. So that was my first job. I got a job at the old store on Dayton. We called it the old store on Dayton Xenia. It's no longer there, and neither one of them are. But
like a shooting range.
Yeah, the big store is a shooting range now. But yeah, that was my first job when I turned 16. I was a cashier, a bagger, and stock. You know, did whatever. My uncle worked there, so he was actually the store manager. So that was my first actual job, and I worked there for, I think, 2 years, a little under 2 years. And then as I was going to Greene County in the machining program, in my senior year, we were able to do kind of like a work release program. It sounds like a prison, but it's not. We would do our classes in the morning, and then in the afternoon, basically at lunchtime, then we could leave and then go to our job. So I started working for a company in Beaver Creek called Carbide Probes, where my brother worked, and we made little tiny indicator tips and probes and things like that. And so that was my first actual foray into the machining field. Yeah.
Okay. And where do you work at now?
I work at a company in Blue Ash called Metal X Manufacturing.
Okay.
And we do a lot of high tolerance flight hardware for the RS-25 rocket engines for NASA.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. We talked to Jeff in the last episode, and he talked about how to work on the railgun for the Navy and things like that. So what is the coolest thing you've worked on? Then I've got to ask, because obviously NASA that's pretty
right.
badass,
Yeah. One of the coolest parts I've worked on is called the main inlet fuel housing, and it's the main fuel housing where the liquid O2 is compressed into the engine. It's about a $3.5 million part all by itself. And, but yeah, that's one of the coolest things I've worked on.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah. And then here recently, about 6-8 months ago, I was able to actually see one of the flight of my, I call it my engine. It's not my engine, but of the engine that I actually put hands on, I actually get launched into space.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty fulfilling.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I can't help but think of Armageddon when he's like, "Can you please get off of the moon?"
Right.
Like, that's me. Don't let me work on the $3.5 million part. Yeah. So okay, cool. So you met your wife pretty early in life.
Yes.
And then talk a little bit about family, kids. What was it like when you first found out you were going to be a dad?
Oh, it was the scariest and best feeling ever. We weren't even trying. We weren't not trying, but we weren't trying to have a baby. It just worked out in life how life works sometimes. Like we had when we first got married, we lived in a townhouse, actually over by where the green's at, back when the green was still just a cornfield. Um, we lived there for a year after we got married, and then we moved out and actually moved back into my mom's house because she decided she was going to move out and live with her boyfriend. So it was a good opportunity. She had a very cheap mortgage, so our rent actually went down, and we moved in and lived there. And it seemed like as soon as we moved out and moved back into the house, Sharon got pregnant. And
there goes that extra money.
right, right. Actually, no, I apologize. That's wrong. We lived there, and we were there for several years. I apologize. Again, my memory's scrambled. And it wasn't until we moved out and then moved into our current home that we got pregnant. And that was, I think, a lot to do with the fact that after 2 years, my mom decided she didn't want to live with her boyfriend anymore and moved back in with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was a year and a half of a lot of back and forth, man in the middle type situation between my wife and my mother. And so it just seemed like the way it worked out, like we didn't want to bring a baby into that environment subconsciously, I
Almost
think.
like stress was like lowered or
Right.
something.
And then literally as soon as we moved out and into our house, and let's see, we've been there for 17 years, but as soon as we moved out, Sharon got pregnant, and we had been married for 7 years at that point. But yeah, it was pretty crazy how it worked out. But yeah, definitely scary and exciting at the same time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So how many kids do you have?
I have two girls. My oldest just turned 16 not long ago, and she actually goes to take her driver's license test this weekend, which is and then my youngest, Rachel, she is 12 and going on 25.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's in that
Attitude age,
phase of life where the hormones are forcing most of her decisions and attitude, and but yeah, definitely fulfilling.
We've had all the girl dads on the show so far. So family time is probably extremely important. I know you guys like to do stuff as a family.
Absolutely.
What would a normal, or I guess not even normal, what would your ideal vacation be? If you could take Sharon and the girls and you guys could just go and do your thing, what would you do?
Right. We've done, I think our favorite is we like to go down to the Outer Banks and spend a week or two on the beach and just relax and chill and have some good seafood. And that's probably a family wise our favorite vacation.
Okay.
My favorite vacation was a couple years ago. We went to Montana and stayed in Montana for 2 weeks. Went up to Glacier National Park for a few days and hiked around up there, and just spent time in what I call just absolute God's country. It's absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, and you are going back pretty soon, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, we're planning a trip here soon in June, so that'll be here before we know it.
Okay, awesome. Well, so have you ever been like out of the country, or is all of it been mostly here in the United States?
Here in the United States. I mean, recently here, just this past summer, we were able to go to Hawaii, and we had the opportunity to go to Hawaii for a week, and definitely the best beach vacation I've ever been on. Again, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous scenery, great people. I was fortunate enough, feel really lucky to been able to take that trip and let my girls experience that. That's things that I didn't get to do growing up. I think I maybe had 2 vacations my entire childhood, and just because we were poor, we didn't have a lot of money to spread around, and so just fortunate to be able to let my girls experience some
Yeah, the
things
memories
that
you're
right,
creating with them, like
right.
that's pretty amazing. Like
Yeah.
Hawaii's on my list. I have not been.
Oh,
My
it's
I want to go so
yeah.
bad.
Never actually
Um,
been out of the country, but that's as far out of the country I guess as you could say as I've
yeah,
gotten.
that is kind of out of the
Yeah,
country
I'd
though. It is
I'd
an
say
island
it's
out
out,
there,
even though
so
it's in, it's out.
yeah. So um, leading back into like do tour and stuff.
Mhm.
You've been around. It's 2024 now, the end
Right.
of 2024, and you joined the group around 2020.
Mhm.
What is that transition look like from where you joined the group to where we are now? Like, what is some of your favorite memories of the trips or events that we've held? What comes to mind when we say what is do tour?
Just the family atmosphere is what I love about Dotore. I've met some of my best friends that I have now, and some of the best friends that I've had in my life have been as a result of joining our group. Um, just truly great people, great camaraderie and fellowship, and just like minded. There's nothing like getting out in the woods with your friends and just sitting around a campfire, hanging out in your truck, joking over the radio, getting stuck, getting razzed because you're stuck. And probably my favorite memory is when this thing was still kind of a baby, and we were going up Spas Creek, and I think I only had a spacer lift, a leveling kit, and 33s. Luckily, I had just put my winch on the front, and I got high centered on Spas Creek, and could not figure out why I hooked my winch up. I was all excited to use my new winch because I put it on Thursday, and then Saturday, here I was using it for the first time,
Yeah.
and I could not figure out why I wasn't going anywhere. And I'm running the gears and doing the winch and doing the thing. I get the girls screaming in the back seat because they're afraid they're going to fall off the
Yeah.
side of the mountain.
Meanwhile, you're like jumbled, like
Right,
I don't know what I'm doing
right.
here.
And I'm like, I'm not moving. And then I figure out my e-brake's on.
Yeah,
Like, what the
that'll do
heck?
it.
Right. So, but yeah, that's probably one of my favorite memories, at least the funniest memory on the trail. But yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you've had a lot of great times on the trail. The camaraderie again is really important to us. That's something that, we kind of pride ourselves on, being able to bring your family around
Mm-hmm.
and seeing all the kids kind of go hang out and do their thing and build
Mm-hmm.
those relationships amongst them, not only among, the members. So it's really cool to see all that. Um, Speaking of like Spas Creek, that as a trail that we have done a lot.
Yeah.
And we're doing another ride coming up here in a week and a half. I'll be
Yeah.
down there, actually a week. I'll be down there
Right.
scouting trails. So that may pop up, but we are doing some of the newer sections as
Mm-hmm.
well. What kind of stuff are you looking at for that trail? When we talk about the pre-riding and the stuff that goes into that, what are we doing as admins and the trail team to kind of make all this happen?
Basically, we're just scoping out the situation, making sure that based on our difficulty rating of the trail that we're leading, making sure that the trail is going to be safe for our rig, safe for our people. Obviously, it's like you said before, safety is our number one goal. We want to go out, we want to have fun, but we want to make sure that everybody comes back to the campground or comes back home safe and is able to drive their truck home, because that's what a lot of us have to do. We drive our trucks to these trails and go out and have fun, and we want to be able to drive them home. So we want to make sure that basically the trail is good and everybody's truck is rated for the trail system that they've decided to go on.
Yeah. Um, it's a lot more work than some people think.
Yes.
We are out there, we're having fun while we're doing it. While we're doing it. But, it is it is very time consuming. You spend a lot of hours out there on the trails getting
Right.
bumped around, and it does take a little bit of toll on your body and stuff as you're doing it. But you had talked about getting stuck and having to use your winch and stuff for the first time.
Right.
A lot of people were in that situation. They
Mm-hmm.
get out there and they get in a little bit over their head, and
Mm-hmm.
they get into those deep ruts, so to say.
Right.
But being able to recover yourself from a situation like that is extremely important. Every spring we actually do a recovery day. It's an educational event. Allows people to put themselves in a position like that, get their vehicle stuck, hook up their own equipment and try things and learn about that equipment, not being surprised the first time they have to use it out on the trail. So not only learning how to do all that, but being able to do it safely. We also have the EMT come out and kind of talk about some, different safety protocols and emergency situations and things like that. So, great event. You've had the opportunity to be able to come out and do that a couple of times.
Right.
So, if you're watching this and you're not super familiar with things like that, it's okay. That's perfectly fine. A lot of us were in that situation. We're not pros here. We're just a group of people that want to have a good time.
Right.
And we do that safely and learn about it together. So it's important that we continue to keep that atmosphere. So anybody that is new to the group, if you haven't come out because you're intimidated or something like that, don't be. Come join us. Come talk to us on, whether it's a donut meet or a kayaking event or whatever it is. We want to get you involved and be helpful in any way that we can. So, that's kind of what it's all about. We do a lot of events every year, and that's continuing to grow. So as we do, um, different trail rides, we have some of those other events like I talked about with the kayaking and Halloween events and the recovery day. And we try to go to Red River Gorge at least once a year. We're going to Wind Rock at least once a year. But trying to fit that kind of stuff and plan it all into everyone's schedule is something that we're trying to continue to do and grow on as well.
Yeah, it can definitely be a challenge to get everybody's schedules lined up.
Yeah, and we are. I think I started this around 2018-ish. So it's grown a lot. We're at over 1,500 members now. So as we grow, I'm sure the group will grow as a whole, and we'll continue having fun and enjoying ourselves while we're doing it. But it's been great to have Mark out on the trails. Seeing the transformation of the members is something that I really like seeing, and thinking about like before and after pictures, things like that. I always love to go back and see the stock picture of my truck, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've done a lot of. It's been a long time.
I've spent so much money on this thing.
Yeah, and it is somewhat addictive. I mean, before getting into off-roading, I know you did like some camping and you had some other hobbies and stuff. The first time you came out and camped with us, you had like your full-on primitive setup out there, pretty badass. I'd never seen. Was that like a canvas tent kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I was involved with. I'm still a member, but I need to get back into it. But it's a competitive muzzleloading shooting club.
Okay.
And a couple of times a year we would get together and have what we call a woods walk and a rendezvous, and basically everybody would bring out their old style primitive camping gear. What do we call it? Primitive period correct. Yeah, period correct. So yeah, I had the canvas A-frame tent, and I walked around in buckskin pants and buckskin shirt and sometimes a loincloth. It was really, really hot outside, and then we'd set up various targets out in the woods, and we'd go walk through the woods and shoot targets. And we did a lot of the exhibition style things where we'd cut playing cards in half on edge.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Put a clay bird on a wood block with a broadhead axe, and you shoot the axe edge and split the bullet and break the clay bird on either side. So yeah, we did quite a bit of that kind of stuff. And I was trying to get my daughters involved in a little bit of that style camping, and it wasn't really their thing. Which I get. They're girls. They don't want to be out there roughing it too hard. But so that's what kind of led me into with the truck and getting into more that style camping, this type of camping that we do, and just kind of like standard tent camping or rooftop tents or what have you. And thinking that might be a little bit more up their alley, so to speak.
And it's worked.
And it's worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we just went down to Red River a couple weekends ago, and yeah, it was an experience. Like, yeah, they liked it, but I don't think I have to really twist their arm, or they won't have to twist my arm again. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say, but I don't think I have to worry about them really wanting to go again. Yeah, let's just put it like that.
Yeah, okay.
They want to go glamping,
Yeah.
not camping.
They want the yurts and all that stuff.
They want an actual bed with the mattress, and that they can, with the bathroom, that they don't have to freeze their butt off and get out of the tent. And so maybe one of these days I'll look back into getting a camper. We had an old travel trailer a while back that Sharon and I went camping in quite a bit when we were first married, and she enjoyed that. But yeah, the whole tent camping is not really their cup of tea, which I can understand.
I totally get it. Whitney likes the idea of camping, but she doesn't sleep very well, so like sleeping in a tent is difficult for her. The roof nest was supposed to help that a little bit, and she gets car sickness, motion sickness in general. Actually, she gets quite a bit of that. But being bounced around on the trails and stuff is not her ideal vacation. But she's very supportive of me doing that, which I'm very thankful of.
Yeah,
but
same here.
So you've had some pretty cool hobbies. I knew that you had done some of that, but I didn't know to that extent.
Yeah.
I've never done anything like that. I've shot a lot of guns, so maybe at some point we're gonna have to do some black powder shooting.
I'll dust them off.
If you guys know anything about that, comment below. Ask Mark some questions. What other hobbies do you have that we don't know about? What are you hiding from us?
Oh man, I don't really. I mean, it's basically as long as it goes bang or goes vroom, I'm pretty much into it. Other hobby, I mean, I collect old Gershner. They're Gershner wooden toolboxes. They're made here in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of one of the things that goes along with my career. It's like a machinist thing. After you get to a certain period in your career, it used to be back in the day, your company, whichever company you work for, a lot of them would, like, once you reach like a 20-year or 25-year anniversary, they would gift you a wooden Gershner toolbox. And it's kind of like almost like a status symbol for a machinist, that, like, kind of like you've arrived.
Yeah.
If you've got one of these boxes. And now I have like 7 or 8 of them sitting around in my basement in various stages of restoration, and I like to take them and clean them up and kind of breathe new life into them.
Okay.
And
that's
then
cool.
let them sit in my basement and stare
Yeah.
at them. So,
do they hold tools or?
Yeah, they have tools, and they have, like, a couple of them are dedicated to my muzzle loading hobby. And, I've got various gun parts in them, and, some not only muzzle loader, but also modern style guns. I've got different parts, and, kind of tinker around with guns a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
I was a knife maker for a little while. I kind of gotten out of that as my life has gotten busier, but I can foresee myself getting back into that at some point.
Yeah. So EDC stuff. I know you're a little bit into the everyday carry.
Yeah,
if
I'm
you
definitely
don't know what
into that
EDC
type of
means.
stuff, yeah.
I saw one of your knives one time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it was a Chris Reeves or something. Maybe is that what you have on you?
Funny that
I was
going to
say, should you do a pocket dump? Should
we should. I mean, I've got a Chris Reeves. This is a Sabenza. It's definitely my favorite go-to carry knife. It's just the best kind of all around, I just love it. I beat the
What
crap out of it.
What is
And
the last thing you used that for?
uh,
I always like to think about that. Mine is like 9 times out of 10, it's cutting food or cutting a box.
right. And
Like,
literally, I ate an apple earlier today, and I cut an apple up. And then last night was trash night, so I cut up some Amazon boxes with it.
okay, yeah,
I've used it to cut belts off of cars, broken fan belts. Pretty much anything and everything I can throw at it. It kind of it just takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
yeah. So, is it primarily knives, or does it go deeper than that? Because some people's EDC is like a knife and that's it, or
Right.
it's like their knife, their phone, and their keys, or it's some people are even
Yeah.
deeper than that. So,
Yeah, it kind of varies depending on my mood and depending on the season. So a lot of times, summertime, I'm just wearing, khaki shorts, and there's not really a whole lot of room for things. But in the wintertime, when I'm wearing a little bit bulkier clothing, it's easier to conceal certain things. So I've got, other things that I carry, and I do carry a key bar, which I don't have actually on me. I left it at the house, but it's a little tool that has all my keys, and it's actually got a knife blade in it.
yeah. Key bars are really cool. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I know that's come a long way too,
right,
even since
right.
the first ones. But
I'll carry some, like a lot of times at work, I have a leather holster that I have on my side that carries a pen, a flashlight, and a Leatherman. So that the Leatherman obviously is kind of like a jack of all trades tool.
Yeah.
I usually always have a Leatherman with me somewhere. It's either in my bag. I do have a bag that I carry every day. That's kind of like my, not really maybe a bug out bag, but kind of like a get home bag, because I do work 40 miles away from my house.
Yeah.
So, if the crap ever hits the fan, so to speak, then I've got essential items that I need to make it home safely.
Sure.
So
yeah. I've got a bag in my truck that's got some similar things. I know on our walk around video, we didn't talk a whole lot about that, but yeah, it's not always about the vehicle and how cool it is. Sometimes you got to have the things to be able to protect that.
Right.
Depending on what kind of situation it could be. I mean, I was telling Whitney this last night. I had a super weird dream last night. It was like apocalyptic, man. Like the world was ending. And I just remember like walking through these buildings, and some of them were like ruins and stuff. And I would like meet groups of people, and you're like, who are you? And then you see like they're a family, and you're like, can I trust you?
Yeah.
Like, so like every time I went to sleep, I woke up and I'm like, what is happening?
Right.
Like, but definitely some of those situations can be real. And even if it's not like an attack or something like that, so to speak, a natural disaster or anything.
Right.
I mean, train explosions. I mean, if you watch the news, you see crazy stuff happens all the time. So
anything and everything.
Being prepared is something that I'm an advocate for as well. But, other than the shooting of the black powder, making knives, what else should we know about Mark?
Basically, I'm all about my kids, being involved in their lives, being involved in their activities, trying to balance that work, hobby, family time. Just both of my girls play soccer. My youngest was involved in soccer and cheerleading at one point. My oldest she loves to run track and play soccer. So a lot of times, we're constantly running around. That's why I'm nervous about my oldest getting her license, but also at the same time, it's going to help take some of the pressure off of the mom and dad taxi service of running both directions, taking one kid to soccer and the other kid to soccer, and back and forth, and but yeah, basically just trying to be involved in their lives as much as possible while I can.
Is she going to drive a Toyota? Are you going to make her take her driving test in the Tacoma?
No, I'm not. Luckily, she does not know how to drive a stick shift. And she will not be learning how to drive a stick shift anytime. I was one of those dads where I'm like, I'm going to teach my daughter how to drive a stick shift, but I love my baby too much, and I love clutches are expensive, you know.
Absolutely, man. I get
So
it.
yeah, so actually she does drive a Scion. So we bought her a Scion earlier this year, and so it's got a Toyota heart in it, and
Yeah, it's a great first car.
yeah, it's definitely better than my first car. You know, I can't complain because it was a free car, but it was a '79 Ford Fairmont,
Yeah,
and I beat the ever loving crap out of that car, as most first drivers usually do.
yeah.
But
What? So, out of all the vehicles you've owned, what is your favorite? Is it the Tacoma? And
yeah,
if it is, what is the second favorite?
yeah, by far my Tacoma is my favorite. It's the most fun I've ever had in a vehicle. Most versatile. Just go anywhere. It'll do anything I put in front of it. It'll go over top of anything I put in front of it. If it doesn't, I've got the provisions to get it out of a situation. But yeah, definitely my favorite. Second favorite would probably have to be my Fairmont, just because it was my first car.
Yeah,
You know, I'll never forget that experience of my mom handing me the car keys and saying, "Here you go. You know, this is for you," and just having that freedom as an 18-year-old, which I had to wait because, again, growing up, we had no money. So my parents, I think the year I was eligible for driving, when I turned 16 for driving school, they, like the year before, they stopped teaching it at the high school.
oh man.
Yeah, so we had to do we would have had to have done the whole driving school thing, and my
Yeah.
parents just didn't have the money. So I had to wait until I was 18, and I
Yeah.
just went down and took my test and got my license. But
Yeah.
yeah, just having that freedom and that ability to, you know, go hang out with my friends when I wanted, and, you know, go screaming through the streets of Kettering. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely a couple of situations there, but yeah, that even though it was a piece of crap, it was still, you know, definitely my second favorite car.
Yeah. Yeah, it is wild to think about like growing up and the stuff that you did. Like I certainly remember some times where I was like, man, could have got a lot of trouble
Oh
for
yeah,
that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and then we see kids doing it now, and we're like, why do you stop
Right,
that?
would you not
Like,
slow down?
like, get off my yard.
Yeah, I'm definitely that dad that screamed at people flying through my neighborhood, telling them to slow down because
Yeah.
they're going way too fast. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It is. It's crazy how that transitions over time.
oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm starting to notice a lot more, and I'm like, I'm not a dad, but I'm like, I have nieces and nephews, so there's people like driving down the street real fast, and I live on the second house before you get to a main street,
Right.
and people are flying by my house, and I'm like, how are you even? You got to stop,
Right.
like, so it's man, it's
Yeah,
irritating.
we
but
live on a corner, and the road that runs perpendicular to our street is just basically a straight shot, and people hit the stop sign, and then they just take off like it's a drag race or something, and they're running 50 miles an hour as they pass my house.
Yeah.
And it's happened a couple of times where my girls would be out in the side yard playing right next to the road, and some idiot comes screaming down the street.
Yeah.
And I'm that dad that's just like, slow down, you know. But
well, for good reason. I
Right.
mean, you got to be protective of
Absolutely.
them. So we talked about like hobbies and, you know, childhood a little bit,
Mhm.
work history. We talked about a lot,
Right.
but I like this question. Is there a hobby that you wish you had that you don't? Is there something that you're interested in that you've never like been like, I'm just gonna go do it?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind is probably because I am so involved in the shooting sports, is I've always wanted to try the 3-gun competitions. But I've just, you know, it's just one of those deals where I've never, it takes a lot of money to get into, and I've never had the means to really get into that. But it's always something that I've really wanted to try. You know, I've seen the videos on YouTube, like of Keanu Reeves training for the John Wick movies.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and just that's what I'm talking about, where you're going through a shooting range and you're transitioning through different weapons and different targets and just trying to beat that time and improve and really hone your skill. It's always something that I've wanted, and maybe I'll get into it one of these days, but
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be
In the past year, I've found out that there are some people in our group that do that.
yeah.
So they came out to our last recovery day and kind of learned a little bit about them. And so that's what this is all about. Again, is building
Right.
those
Right.
relationships. Mark wants to do some competition shooting with
Right.
you. I'm not. I'm not opposed to joining. Just saying,
Right.
like I love shooting some guns. So, um, yeah, it's great to kind of learn a little bit about each of the members and seeing what they do outside of Dotore, because a lot of times when we're talking in a parking lot or we're getting ready for a ride or something, it's very minimal and there's a lot of things happening during that
Right.
time, so you don't get as personable. And I know, like growing up being around different car groups and stuff, like my dad had started a Camaro group for third gen Camaros, and at the time I think it got up to maybe around like 15, but 3 or 4 of them were very good friends.
Mhm.
And it was very cool to kind of see that and grow up around that. And I hope we are making those same kind of memories for
Yeah,
like your
absolutely.
kids and Jeff's daughter and
Yeah.
Corey's girls and all of that. Um, it, it's great to see that. Where do you want to see Dotore grow in the future? Well, let's say like a 5-year plan, for example. What would you like to see happen in 5 years?
Yeah, I would love to. Obviously, we're continuing that growing streak to where we're growing and we're adding events and trying to do more things. I'd love to see that continue to grow and get to the point to where we're having you know get to the point where when we have our registered rides that we can get to the point where we can give back to the trail community, to the Red River Gorge, to help maintain those trails. I'd love to, I'd love to see the group. I know we've talked about this before, like get to a point where like we have almost like a clubhouse, an area that we can go to with maybe a garage with a lift if somebody's having an issue with their truck and they need to have, which we have several mechanics and several experienced members already that provide services and provide that support to our members, that if you have an issue with your vehicle, you can go somewhere and we can throw it up on a lift and we can get it figured out, or help a member install a lift on their truck, or do we've had the modification days, or
Yeah,
where we all
install
just
parties
install
and
parties, yeah, where
yeah,
we get together in someone's driveway and just whatever we've gathered that we haven't had a chance to put on our trucks, we all get together and put them on our trucks and just get together and help each other out in fellowship. And
yeah.
yeah.
That we've had some very fun install
Oh
parties,
yeah.
and
Yeah, there's
you
definitely.
know, especially in those early days as we started making those modifications, a lot of times we would do something and we're like, should I be doing this? Like, am I doing this right? And like, I just remember so many of those times, or doing the stuff myself and trying to hold it and put bolts in like over here and
Right.
something heavy, and you're just trying. So it is great to, have that community and being able to rely on some
Right.
people. Um, you know, Recommendations is something that's extremely important, I think, amongst the group too.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're somebody who does this all the time and you're just looking for a particular part, and somebody that might be able to get that for you, or if you're first time you've ever changed oil, you know what I mean? I want you guys to feel comfortable being able to ask those questions and get advice from the people in our group. We, like I said, do have a lot of great resources here. Anybody from technicians to people that maybe just have a particular trade. Maybe you've got a question about machining. Mark may be that guy you want to ask about that. There are a lot of reasons to keep Dotore running, not
Mhm.
just the off-roading aspect of all that. You
Right.
know what I mean? The off-roading is a lot of fun, and I want to do that as much as possible.
Mhm.
But I know it is a little more vigorous on the vehicles, and I personally don't have a dedicated rig. I hope I can get to that point, but it's so much fun. And if you're one of those people, again, that are listening or watching this, and you haven't come out before, come join us. Sign up for a ride, or come out to one of the Dotore donut meets and bring your kids. Like I said, this is a family atmosphere, and we pride ourselves on that, in welcoming anybody into our group. So Mark, it's been awesome having you along. I appreciate you taking the time to kind of chat with me today and allow the
Absolutely.
people to learn more about you. Um, I'm excited to see where this goes from here, and talking about that 5-year plan,
Yeah.
being able to get like a clubhouse of some sort. That is the dream. I think that would
That
be
would be
so cool.
amazing.
Being able to host our Dotore and Donut events there, or being able to have whatever it might be take place at that location. I
Mhm.
think that would be really neat, but that is far down the road. Right now, let's just keep having a great time,
Right.
having these rides, and keeping everybody safe while we do it. But one final question that I love to ask, and I think this one caught Jeff a little bit off guard, but who has been the biggest impact on your life, or what has been the biggest impact on your life?
Oh man, there's so many to choose. Honestly, probably my wife. Like I said before, we've been together for, she was my first and only girlfriend. Girlfriend, obviously now wife, but she's my rock. And had I not met her, it's hard telling what I'd be doing right now. She keeps me grounded, and she puts up with my shit.
Yeah.
And it just, I figured I learned early on when I found her that if I find somebody that wants to put up with me, I need to do whatever I can to hold on to her. And luckily, if she's able to put up with my hobby, my main hobby, and not kick me out of the house, then I think I've found something really, really special.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
So,
That's great. Again, 30 years, right?
yeah, we've
No,
been
you
together
said
30 years.
that's very awesome. So, all right. Well, again, thank you guys for watching. Look forward to that next episode. Learn more about our members. If you haven't done so already, check out the episodes prior to this and look at the mini series, The Rig. But until next time, what do we say, Mark? Let's go places. All right, take care, everybody.